Hi, my name is Mila Haberake. I'm from the HIVA KU Leuven and I represent the Belgian report. Against the backdrop of the digital and green transition, the Belgian labour market has been recording considerable labour shortages across a wide range of sectors and occupations. These labour shortages are typically attributed to two types of mismatches. One type are qualitative mismatches, which refer to a mismatch in the required and available worker profiles. Here, the demand and supply of knowledge and skills are not aligned. The workforce will thus need more and new competences, and relying on the knowledge and skills gained in early education and training will not always suffice. That's why there is a broad consensus on the importance of adult learning or lifelong learning in Belgium. The national report specifically addresses the situation in the Flemish context or Flanders. In addition, the report takes a closer look at the automotive industry. The importance of adult learning is reflected in the ambitious policy target that has been set. Flanders aims to have at least 60% of adults participate in training each year by 2030. But despite the awareness, targets and measures addressing both companies and workers, participation in education and training remains low, especially among the group of workers who would benefit the most from lifelong learning, such as lower educated and elder workers. Based on data from the 2016 Adult Education Survey, the overall participation rate in education and training for adults aged 25 to 64 in Belgium was 45%, while the participation rate for lower educated was 20% and for the elderly 29%. Workers are faced with a number of barriers that may be difficult to tackle. Moreover, Flanders lacks a proper learning culture. People in Flanders are generally not or only slightly inclined to pursue further training or retraining after their initial education. When we take a closer look at the adult learning policy, we see that Flemish government in 2016 stipulated that by 2050, Flanders would be a region with a learning culture, where everyone is fully prepared for an ever-evolving labour market. An emphasis on establishing a culture of lifelong learning is also reflected in the 2019-2024 coalition agreement from the Flemish government. This coalition agreement set the first step towards a Flemish learning and career account, which is currently in development. And it led to 3 types of training incentives that are now available, as well as the creation of a lifelong learning partnership. An outcome of this partnership is the Flemish Action Plan on Lifelong Learning, presented in 2021. Although the Belgium National Report focuses on Flanders, adult learning is also high on the policy agenda of the federal government, an example being the Labour Deal of 2022. The ecosystem of actors involved in adult learning in Belgium is extensive, as it involves a wide range of public and private bodies and organizations that operate across different levels and geographical areas. In line with a strong tradition of social dialogue in Belgium, the social partners and the sector funds, which are jointly managed by trade unions and employers' organizations, play a key role in adult learning in Flanders. Sector funds aim to help ensure that there are sufficient and well-trained employees working within their sector. They do so by, for example, organizing and funding training activities and providing coaching. The social partners contribute to the definition of the training system and help shape training policy at the sector and company levels. This is achieved by concluding collective bargaining agreements, promoting a positive learning culture, helping to address barriers to lifelong learning, etc. Adult learning is an important topic for the automotive industry, since the sector is heavily affected by technological developments and changes in legislation and regulations, which influence the skill requirements. The importance of adult learning in the automotive industry is reflected in the fact that the 3 companies we spoke to have their own training center or academy. Though these were larger organizations and such internal training centers might not be feasible for every organization. A particular challenge for the automotive industry is finding technically trained workers. As a result, students with STEM profiles have become a point of focus for companies in this sector. Nonetheless, lifelong learning should address the entire workforce. An example of this is the development of a company career path platform meant to aid workers take ownership of their career trajectory in the organization, and in so doing, stimulate learning-related dialogue between a worker and their manager. The national report highlights 4 recommendations to boost lifelong learning in Flanders. The first recommendation is that efforts should not only go to increase the training participation rate, the quality of the training should be a priority too. Secondly, efforts must go to support the validation of on-the-job learning, as it is an important form of learning, especially for blue-collar workers, but it's often not recognized in Flanders. The third recommendation relates to the digital tools currently being developed to stimulate adult learning in Flanders. Specifically, overlap between tools should be avoided, and tools should be developed bearing in mind that not all workers have well-developed digital skills. A last recommendation is that all stakeholders must dedicate efforts to address the lack of a learning culture. This includes informing companies on why lifelong learning matters, raising their capacity to offer quality training, and aiding workers in assessing their training needs. To conclude, in the current context of changing competency needs, adult learning is a hot topic. A major obstacle for Flanders, however, is that it lacks a real learning culture. An additional struggle are the barriers that workers and employers face. Addressing these challenges requires the active involvement of the extensive ecosystem of actors, which include the social partners and sector funds. The policy recommendations mentioned prior are therefore meant to assist actors in the goal to boost lifelong learning in Flanders.